the New York Knicks, they have been very successful this season. They're 18-17. They're fourth in the East, and a viral video of them went viral on Twitter about the Knicks celebrating out, I think, on 3rd Street.
The Knicks fans.
Yes, because we are finally 500. Somebody I know actually took that video. His name is Mario.
Really?
He sold me Knicks tickets before. I sat pretty close, even though there was an annoying kid in front of my seat that kept on jumping after every shot was made. So the video went viral, and some people are talking about, imagine being happy for, a lot of party poopers wanted to chime in on the video. But the bottom line is that the Knicks are playing great. And Tom Thibodeau has been great for the Knicks. He's instilled a winning culture, defense-first culture. They're first in opponents' points per game. They're third in defensive rating. And I know Riv on Twitter earlier wanted to take credit for saying that Thibodeau was going to instill a culture when he never said that. When Tom Thibodeau first got hired, we made a segment on this show. JC was still here. It was Riv, JC, and I. And Riv was laughing at the Knicks roster. He was laughing at Julius Randle. He was laughing at the Knicks players. When I was over here talking about, the Knicks are going to make some noise, all of this and all of that, I knew Tom Thibodeau was going to be successful because one year in Chicago, Derrick Rose and Luol Deng basically were hurt for the entire year. The leading scorer that year was DJ Augustine, and the Chicago Bulls still managed to make the playoffs. Now you see, his track record with developing players is astounding. You look at Derrick Rose, MVP in Chicago. You look at Jimmy Butler, transition to an all-star player. And now you look at Julius Randle going from a guy who is known as more of a role player. Some people classified him as a stat pattern, now becoming an all-star and a legitimate guy in the NBA. And, man, I'm happy. I had to put my Knicks hat on the table because I'm happy that the Knicks are winning, even though I would have loved Cade Cunningham or Jalen Green or Jonathan Kuminga. There's nothing better than watching the Knicks win. And when the Knicks win, it is what is really great. It makes the NBA that much better when the Knicks start to win because they're the biggest market in the NBA.
Well, I said it a couple episodes ago. I don't even remember exactly what the topic was, but I think we were talking about the Knicks, and I said they remind me of that year with the Nets with D'Angelo Russell. Not from a play style aspect or anything like that, but just the fact that it was a year that nobody expected much out of him. Obviously Knicks fans had high hopes, but outside of Knicks fans, nobody really expected much out of them. And they took a group of guys that had really been overlooked, and they turned them into something that nobody thought they could be. And they've formed an identity, and now they're starting to string together wins. I think the Knicks are going to be a playoff team, and it's because of that identity. Tom Thibodeau has come in, and I feel like you know what you're going to get out of Tom Thibodeau. He's a hard-nosed coach. Mm-hmm. He's going to instill that hard-nosed nature in his team. Defensively, they've been awesome. And guys have been buying in. And I love the way the front office has handled things. And I said this to you this all season. They didn't go out and spend money stupidly. They didn't make short-sighted moves. And now you see them, fingers crossed at the deadline, not, in on big-time trades because that's not what they need right now. They need to just continue to grow and develop this culture. And you see how it turned out for that net team. They go out that offseason and they become the big-time free agent destination. And it's the Knicks. Let's be real, behind the Celtics and the Lakers, they're probably third or at least top 5 most famous franchises in basketball. When they're successful, guys will want to come. So now you're building this success. You have Leon Rose in the building, who's done a great job bringing in some talent, and I really like what the Knicks are building. I think they'll be a playoff team this year. I don't think they'll be like a playoff team that makes noise, but making the playoffs is the first step.
Randle is averaging 23, 11, and 5, 48% from the field, 41% from 3. He's playing phenomenal, but RJ Barrett averaging 16. He's getting his efficiency up. In this month, I think he's shooting 50% from 3. So he has been way more consistent from 3. He's at up to like maybe 34 or 35% from the year. Derrick Rose averaging 12 points per game since getting traded, 16 and 7 when starting. And a crazy stat, he's only started 3 games, but in the games that Derrick Rose has started, the Knicks have a 118 offensive rating, which would rank first in the NBA.
Wow.
Yes. Alec Burks is healthy. He's adding scoring, and the Knicks are playing so well that I don't really care that Obi Toppin isn't panning out as of late. I mean, we had high hopes for Obi, but it's been Emmanuel quickly to be the one to step up. And I'm not if the Knicks were losing, there would be so much pressure on Obi Toppin to figure it out now. I mean, before the season, we were talking about potentially trading Randall so Obi could start. And now we're talking about how is Obi going to get minutes? Because there are some times where he gets very little minutes as it is right now. A lot of the concerns coming out of college have transferred into the NBA, and he has to figure it out. But because the Knicks are winning, nobody is really caring.
Yeah, and I think that the fact that they have been winning has been a big part of the reason why he's struggled to find his footing. There hasn't been, games where you could put him out there and say, sink or swim, figure it out. And that's a big part of being a rookie and having nights where you struggle and being able to work through them on a bad team. But the Knicks haven't been that. They've been competing, winning games, so they're not going to put a guy out there if he's struggling. I think that Obi Toppin can be a good NBA player. I don't know if he'll ever be a star. I think he could be a good NBA player. It's just he's got to have opportunities to find his footing, and he's had a tough time finding that with the Knicks' success. But that'll come with an offseason. He can go to summer camp, hopefully this summer if they bring it back. I don't know what the situation is going to be with that. But with a summer camp, an off-season program, a preseason, and a full season under his belt, I think you'll start to see him taking those steps.
I mean, I think that Obi Toppin, his ceiling is a career 16-8 guy. That's what I think his ceiling is.
And that's not bad at all.
It's not bad, but for the Knicks, it is.
It's tough.
If we were losing, it would be.
Yeah,
nobody would want to hear that.
And looking at the draft and some of the guys that went after him, and you say Halliburton, but then you took quickly later on. So hindsight is 20/20, but I don't think he'll end up being a bad NBA player.
No, I don't think Obi would be bad, but I do think at the pick there were a lot of places we could have went. But Obi was the best guy out of the draft. He was supposed to be the most NBA ready. So it is what it is. But I think the best part about everything is that the Knicks are finally winning. And out of all the teams in the playoff race right now, I mean, the Knicks are the team that has had very few low moments. Like, there was one stretch where they lost 5 games in a row. But outside of that, the Knicks have been steady all year. They've been playing pretty good basketball all season long. It makes you wonder if they can get a first-round upset. I know people have been talking about facing Philly. Philly doesn't have a 500 record against winning teams. I think they're 10-8 against winning teams. They do have a 500 record, but by very little. It's not even a big discrepancy. Embiid potentially matched up with Mitchell and Noel. I'm not saying Embiid would do his thing, but I don't think it'd be 50 a night. I think they would make it tough on him. I think that would be a tough matchup. But of course, we're all kind of hoping that it is a Knicks versus Nets playoff series, but the Knicks would have to drop because I don't see the Nets finishing anywhere below 2.
I agree. And you kind of said it. You hit the nail right on the head. They're not a great team, but they're a consistently good team. And at the NBA level, if you can be a consistently good team, you put yourself in a pretty good spot, especially in the Eastern Conference and how poor the Eastern Conference has been this season. You give yourself a really good chance to be maybe even like a 4 or 5 seed.